Hello, welcome to the Speakeasy.
I'm Zach.
I am Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men.
Yes, we are.
We still don't have any cigars, really.
You want a Marlboro?
No.
It's not a cigar, no.
We're looking at another talk video. This one we kind of filmed ahead of time to save up for another week when we didn't have much news, because the last several weeks we had repeat Kavanaugh. We got tired of talking about it, so.
And we're done.
However, it did bring to mind another issue that people were worried about his thoughts on, so we thought we'd give our thoughts on it. Just make everybody mad. Abortion. Because that's always the most friendly discussion anybody can have, especially with a lady.
Especially with a lady.
I don't know, my wife's more conservative about abortion than I think I am.
Yeah. Some, not all women, but most
Most of the ones we know.
are like, my body, my choice. Well, at that point, it's not just your body. In my opinion. There's a baby.
There's scientists go back and forth, doctors go back and forth. You can find a decent spread.
4 to 6 weeks, heartbeat.
Yep.
By
By 12 weeks they have brain function.
which heartbeat and brain function.
We'd consider people alive then.
Yeah, people like protest and get angry and upset about pulling the plug on somebody
Yeah.
because they're still alive. They're still in there somewhere.
And they don't even have brain function.
Yeah, they're just less.
Yeah, although a lot of people would probably argue that the same people protesting about pulling the plug on somebody are the people protesting about abortion. But maybe they have a point in both cases.
Maybe.
I've gone back and forth on this issue so many times, I don't really know where I sit. It changes almost as much as my wife's mood. But
By the minute,
pretty much.
watch her just be like around the corner. Like her footsteps.
Just-
She's coming. the little face things from Alien.
Yeah. But so there's pretty much two positions on the argument, although I think it's more nuanced than that, because even if you get people that are pro-choice, it's generally pro-choice and then they debate how many weeks.
Yeah.
The federal law pretty much lets it go up to term, because it's up to term in some states.
Really?
Either term or like 36 weeks. I know a lot of people on the left are like straight up to term.
I wasn't even a term.
Exactly. Technically my daughter wasn't up to term. She was like 3 days early. But at that point, like, yeah, her mom wanted her out then too, so they just induced the birth.
Induced the birth, have a C-section, and then step away. You carried it that long.
Yeah. But, I have a really hard time with it, because it's like, well, it is somebody else's life, but at some point, like, anything past 12 weeks, you know the mom's going to survive.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 16, but I believe it's anything past 12, like, as far as survive the pregnancy, maybe not survive the birth. Because tubal pregnancies will kill you by 12 weeks. And those are a great excuse for, I don't want to say excuse, but those are actual, like, legit reason to terminate a pregnancy. Because it's going to kill the mom and the baby's not going to live anyway.
Yeah.
If it's a tubal pregnancy. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, it's where
Okay.
the baby starts to develop inside the fallopian tube.
Yep.
Really, you just go like a tube of toothpaste.
Yeah, you'd think, but no. Apparently the body's more adaptable than that, but not quite adaptable enough.
You can you can have complete blockage of one of your main veins feeding your brain, and then have a new one completely regrow and just bypass the blockage.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
It's happened.
I know. So I think we fall into a position where if we would be perfectly happy if no abortions were allowed ever, without a doctor saying we have to do this or they're both going to die anyway.
Yeah.
However, I think we're also both willing to compromise a little bit on that view. I'm pretty happy with the Iowa law they put in place that was like you have like 6 or 8 weeks. Basically, once we can detect a heartbeat, you can no longer abort that baby.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when your heart stops, you're pronounced dead. And then you also presented the argument at one point about brain function. You were like, well, if they have brain function, they're more viable than a brain dead person.
Yeah.
So
I'd give it 12 weeks.
yeah, that'd give you up to 12 weeks. So it's like 12 weeks would be like the maximum I think I could see someone going. But at the same time, like morally for me, if I had a girl that was going to do that, then I would do whatever I could to get her to carry it to term. And if she didn't want the baby, I'll take the baby. That's fine. I would even do that for somebody else's kid. I remember, this might get a little personal. I remember Momo and I talking about that, like if something happened with you and your lady and she got pregnant and she didn't want kids, or you guys didn't want kids. I was like, man, if it gets there, to hell with it. We'll pay to see it through and we'll raise the damn kid. But then we said something to you and you're like, no, if a kid is born and it's mine, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Based on your history.
Yeah.
But I think the best I can sum up my position is begrudgingly up to 12 weeks, but I would perfectly be happy if they just outlawed it altogether. Outside of, like I said, like the doctor saying, oh, it's tubal pregnancy, we have to terminate.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I saw a thing. It was a video of a baby that was born at 24 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll survive that early now.
Kind of clear, but I mean, it was still like
Yeah, you gotta put them in like a goofy tank, but
yeah, just laying out on the table. They just had IVs, and he was just laying there on the little bed.
Yep.
Like, just up to this point, like they had like a little update saying the little boy or girl was doing fine.
We went to school with a guy whose little brother was born like 2.5 pounds because he was born so early.
Uh huh.
He's middle school, high school now.
Yeah. Perfectly healthy kid, as far
Yep.
as I know.
A little small.
Yeah. he still got some catching up to do, mate.
Yeah. But I don't know. And the thing I don't understand is even if somebody were to have an abortion, right? You would feel like if they were going to do that, that would be like one of those choices that would be difficult, and they would feel bad about doing it. But now you're starting to see, like, Michelle Wolf on Netflix had a whole thing that was like, yeah, shout your abortion. And she had it as like a parade, and then people like Lena Dunham who said she wished she could have had an abortion. And
Is that chick's mom?
no.
Oh. That's how I'd understood that. His daughter,
she's never been pregnant, and so she's never had the chance to have an abortion, and she feels bad about that. She's also
she feels bad about not having the chance.
Yep. Yeah, so like, I literally didn't think there were people that still were like, yeah, it's a great thing. But there are, and that I really don't understand.
How do those people feel about the death penalty?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I really don't hear that many people protesting the death penalty very often, although I find it hilarious.
You don't hear about as many executions anymore.
No.
So
We've executed, I think it's like 450 people last time I looked, since like the birth of our nation.
yeah, I remember.
Which, if you think about it, really isn't that many.
No, I mean,
That doesn't include lynchings. That's like legally executed.
it's like 2 a year.
Yeah.
I remember. I think this was the last one that happened in the United States. I remember watching it on TV because they aired that.
I don't remember them airing an actual execution, but I remember seeing like news broadcasts where they're like outside the room or outside the prison or whatever, where it's happening.
That might have been all it was. It was years ago.
Oh no, there have been executions
Oh.
in the last year or two.
Oh, I mean that was a lot of year ago.
But yeah, I don't think they actually air people dying on TV.
Well, maybe they should.
Public Hanes.
Yes.
It's like, hey, you know what? People will be a lot less likely to do stuff if they get to see what happens.
Here, without the bag, man.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't know how people could be anti death penalty and pro-abortion. Also,
Yeah.
that makes no sense to me. I don't see how you can actually be pro-abortion as much as pro-choice, to be honest with you. Like, I can see places where, when I say pro-choice, that means, like, abortion is allowed if you decide to have one, you know, okay. Kind of like with a family member of mine that had one. Like, it was legal by the time she did.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still, like, kind of frowned upon, and, like, she did it, and they just didn't really talk about it much.
Yeah.
And, that makes sense to me. I can understand that. She was, like, 14. You know, I don't think it's a good excuse by any stretch of the imagination. But I do understand where they're coming from with that. But I just don't buy the my body, my choice argument.
I don't either. You
And-
also used your body and made other choices and ended up with a baby.
Yeah, and Barack Obama once said that he wouldn't want his daughters to be punished with a child. And I think that was one of his most punchable face moments. Like, wow, he just basically said someone's life is a punishment for someone else.
Yeah.
That's pretty horrible. Especially when you're Barack Obama. Like, you could give somebody the baby and $1 million.
Yeah.
Done.
You weren't broke before you were president. I doubt you're broke now.
Oh, he's worth millions.
I believe it.
Which is interesting when you consider the salary of the president, but whatever.
Like 400,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right in there.
Yep. They actually took his salary, by the way, just while we're noting things about presidents.
Yeah. Trump donates all, but he donates.
He has
all
to
of
take $1, I think.
Yeah,
It is.
and the rest is donated to various charities.
Yeah. Because he doesn't need the money anyway.
No,
He knows
it's
that. And I like that he's willing to turn it down because, like, I wouldn't.
and living in the White House, like you actually have to pay for all your own stuff. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah. You have to pay for all your own stuff. You have to.
Every meal, everything. You just like living at home.
And it's actually, like, really old. They have mice problems. Like,
Yeah, there's one
it's
wing.
built by small people.
There's like one whole wing that. See, you would have thought with Lincoln being in, because the modern White House was built during the Lincoln.
Was it Lincoln?
Yeah.
Okay.
1812. The British came and burned it down, and it was during the. Yeah, we've definitely talked about this on. Before.
Yeah, we have.
But
But anyway, so we were
he
way
was-
off of
tall man.
topic. So
Yeah,
tall man
I don't
for
think
his
he had
time,
any-
or tall man in general.
I think it was tall and terrible.
Okay.
I don't think he had any abortions. Oh,
Great connector.
Which actually kind of ties into a thought I had while we were talking about it. I would almost equivocate having an abortion as to having slaves.
Yeah,
Because
I really do, and
they're-
I think the debate surrounding it is much like the Civil War slavery debate.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to cause a similar rift in our society as we hash it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see where history ends up, but you would think that in general, history would favor the people who sided with lives.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. If I am and the internet still exists, you'll know. Because you might be watching this well after I'm dead wrong. Okay, so that cut off hardcore.
Yeah.
But basically, like, if you need a morning after pill, come up with $65, because whatever else you're gonna have to come up with later is gonna be more.
A lot more.
Yeah.
How much is a package of diapers?
I think you can get a good pack of diapers for $20. 3 packs of diapers. With a newborn, that's gonna last you like a week or two.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
That's assuming that they all are adjusted in size as your baby grows in the first couple months.
Yes.
But one thing you brought up while we had to reset the camera, we turned the camera hardcore.
We did.
We did.
Hang on
Sorry,
a second.
guys.
Would you
Going for a little ride.
keeping this in?
Yeah. Just. That's good.
That's good.
Alright, whatever.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it again.
You went a little too far back, but that works.
Okay.
We can make it work. You brought up something interesting, which was what if she's raped?
Yeah. Go to the hospital. They will check you for STDs, which is going to be way more important than anything else that's going through your mind, because, you don't want to end up with AIDS or, a big old case of the deadsies.
Yeah.
And they'll give you a morning after pill. They'll check you for DNA.
And you know what? I think you can go in and get a rape kit done without charging anybody of rape.
Probably. So even if you didn't actually, you say, look, I think I passed out at a party. I wake up, I feel kind of weird. I just want to get checked out.
Yeah. Even if you don't have insurance to cover it, they'll bill you later.
Yeah.
And you can figure it out then.
After 7 years, they go away.
Then there's also that. It's just...
Credit might be garbage, but hey.
There's so many other choices that if you're on top of your stuff, you should do. There's no reason to let that child grow to the point where you now have to rip something apart and crush its brain.
Yes.
And if you actually look at what the process is, I don't think you'll ever be able to consciously advocate for, at the very least, late-term abortions. We talked about one on camera that just made me sick to my stomach, and it does every time I talked about it. But
yeah, it took me an hour to get through a 15-minute description of what it was, but I felt to better argue standpoints. You should probably know exactly what's going on.
You need to know. The more you know, the better you can formulate your opinion.
Yes.
And even if you don't think your opinion is going to change, you can harden your arguments, because you have to take into account that evidence. And if you can account for that evidence and still hold the same opinion, then obviously that evidence isn't enough. I think Camille Paglia, who is a relatively prominent old school feminist, made a good point that she thinks a lot of the problems in our culture come from the fact that there's very little consequences for someone who engages in, let's say, casual sex now, because we already have the birth control pill, and even if you screw up the birth control pill, you can go have an abortion.
Yeah.
And that low consequence creates less accountability, and people have gotten so used to it that now they don't like to be held accountable for their actions. However, I will say that when I was looking it up recently, and I haven't had a chance to verify this yet, but I started looking into the issue last week to talk about, I saw something that there were actually no laws against abortion on the books for a long period of history in our country. However, I don't think abortion was a major problem back in the day, but I don't know. I've got to do more research. So it looked like it was like the late 1800s, early 1900s before we got any kind of abortion legislation saying that we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that's a good argument against it because there was no real legislation against slavery until the 1800s.
Yeah, and that. Yeah.
Or late 1700s. But prior to that, throughout history, slavery was a thing everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
it wasn't new. We didn't invent it.
Yeah, and so like nobody had laws on the books that were anti-slavery for a long time. And then I think we passed something that stopped us from importing any more slaves before Britain passed their law. But Britain was the first one to pass the law like banning the slave trade. And I think that it's a really good equivocation to the abortion argument. And that was that. We've never said that before. That just popped out on camera, by the way. Or at least we've never said that to each other.
I think so.
So
that goes back to, I think, defining what a person, like what a person is, what a human is.
Right. Well, and our definition of what a person is in the law's eyes has changed throughout time too, because even when we started like freeing slaves and stuff, we were like, you still only count for 3/5 of a man, and all that. So
whole different video.
Well, yeah, but
no, yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
So we did that then. We had early on, lots of people couldn't vote of different nationalities. Like Chinese people couldn't vote back in the day. All that stuff. So I think the goalposts move, and generally, in a lot of ways, they've moved in better directions to make things more universal correctly. Obviously, there are errors in the process, but I think that the abortion argument kind of falls in those lines, and I think too many people backburner it because it's such a hard issue to get into. And they can see reasons why one would be logical, particularly if it's bad for the health of the mother or rapes. However, those are marginally small percentages of performed abortions. And if you're upset, if you're willing to consider an unborn child a baby, a life, there are 10 times more lives in that regard ended per year than there are deaths by firearm, including suicides and everything else.
Yeah.
It's like 300 and some thousand a year. It's nuts. I think that's a relevant figure. So. Anything else?
I had one, but I don't remember what it was.
I think we've done a decent job articulating our point.
Yeah.
Our position. So, like, sort of begrudgingly in some cases pro-choice, but we would be perfectly happy to say no and just completely outlaw abortion because there are other ways to get on top of your stuff. As long as completely outlawing abortion doesn't stop the morning after pill or things like that.
Yeah, because I think within 72 hours, I don't even think the sperm has reached the egg and penetrated.
Yeah.
I think it's still
working its little way through there.
And I think, yeah.
So, I think that's our position on it. We probably made enough people's heads explode if they actually bothered to watch this far, so.
Yeah.
Till we see you again, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men. Hey everybody, if you like this video, hit a like or dislike, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you really like what we're doing, check us out over on Facebook where we post every day.